Why exactly is the Hulk changing in every single appearance in the MCU? Does this have something to do with just the CG, or is there storyline elements involved? Let's look at it. So most of you by now of course know that originally when The Incredible Hulk came out in 2008, the character of Bruce Banner was of course not played by Mark Ruffalo. Instead, the original Bruce Banner was of course Edward Norton. Now of course this isn't the only difference, as The Incredible Hulk is a movie that was made by Universal, using their own in-house technology and money. And while they did use a certain degree of mocap, it was nowhere near the level that would be established a few years later that was available for the original Avengers. Not to mention also when you look at Edward Norton, he is a much leaner guy compared to that of Mark Ruffalo. So the Hulk looking a lot more lean makes a lot more sense when you look at Edward Norton. Edward Norton would of course go on to leave and be replaced by Mark Ruffalo, who was originally the second runner-up for the original Incredible Hulk casting, and Marvel Studios wanted him. Now this is where Marvel Studios made the decision that the Hulk would be part of their own movies and no longer be in the standalone films due to the fact that Universal owns the rights to those. So naturally there wasn't going to be much character or technology sharing here, so Marvel and Disney had to go back to the drawing board, which meant an all-new version of the Hulk. Using far more motion capture technology than was available when they were shooting The Incredible Hulk, the Hulk took on a new look. This would be a much buffer version of the Hulk that wasn't as ripped as Edward Norton's version. But when you look at the body differences between Norton and Mark Ruffalo, this starts to make sense. And Marvel also cited that a giant moving gorilla/ape was sort of an inspiration for how the Hulk would hunch due to his sheer size. So this was all incorporated into his design. And even if you go back and look at The Incredible Hulk, and you put it side by side by the Avengers Hulk, there's not a whole lot of resemblance in the actor in the actual Hulk. His next appearance in Age of Ultron, he would go on to more or less just sort of look the same as he did in the original Avengers. And of course, as CG got better, so did the facial expressions and facial incorporation of the actor. So Mark Ruffalo then directly had input on what the Hulk would look like in future appearances. Technology got better, and Marvel of course could go back in and touch upon all the details that are on the Hulk, like adding various different muscle fibers, sort of like they had in The Incredible Hulk, but also refining him with chest hairs, a whole lot of veins, and of course make him look leaner than he did in the previous Avengers films. And while we don't actually get to see a lot of the Hulk himself in Avengers Infinity War, we can definitely tell that they used the same model that they had in Thor Ragnarok, but of course, it's just a little bit more refined as technology did once again get slightly better. And then we finally arrive at Avengers Endgame, and he definitely looks a lot more like Mark Ruffalo. And while we don't exactly know why this decision was made, one can argue that just by looking at the patterns as I've covered in this video, the technological improvements on CG, of course being able to directly mocap what Mark Ruffalo is feeling for his emotional scenes, and of course the fact that the Hulk is an extension of Bruce Banner. They are the same person, it is the same skin. So when you look back at the changes that have been gradually made throughout the MCU, it all starts to make sense, because as technology gets better, so does the final result.